to call the in-person library commission to order, 7 p.m. If we could do a roll call, please.
All right. Commissioner Wersing is absent. Commissioner Willers?
Present.
Commissioner Walls?
Present.
Chairperson Beauchamp?
Here.
Commissioner Nafisi is absent. Commissioner Hall?
Present.
And Commissioner Koopman?
Here.
I don't remember who I asked last time, but Commissioner Koopman, do you mind leading us in a salute to the flag, which I believe is behind me to the right? If we could stand.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And that's much better than over Zoom. You can't quite say who's doing what when. But before we take a motion to approve order of agenda, Director Anderson, we have a guest, the Youth Services Librarian.
Correct. She'll be speaking on the summer reading program.
So if I can make a request, for a motion to move item J1, is that right, Director Anderson, for?
Correct.
If we could move that early in the agenda so we can send her on her way.
One second.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, sorry. I thought you did make the motion.
Sorry.
I'll make the motion then.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is to move item J1 first. So let's start with the discussion of the summer reading program.
Hello, my name is Hilaire Hamilton Mitchell, and I'm a Youth Services Librarian with Redondo Beach Public Library. Every year, the Redondo Beach Public Library holds a summer reading program, SRP, for children's, teens, and adults to promote the value of reading. With all that has gone on in the past couple of years, it is even more important to keep the students in our community engaged in reading. Not only does SRP keep them engaged in reading, it also helps our community's young people maintain their reading skills during the summer break from school and begin the next school year without any summer reading loss. This year, we are excited to be able to bring in-person programming back to our summer reading program. The theme for this year is Read Beyond the Beaten Path and will last for 10 weeks from June 4th through August 13th with a focus on the outdoors, parks, camping, etc. Children will receive prizes for every 5, 10, 15, and 25 hours read, while teens receive prizes for every 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 hours read. Prizes include slime, kinetic sand, rubber wristbands, and books. Each prize is paired with a food coupon or voucher from one of our sponsors, including but not limited to Fresh Brothers, Lucille Smokehouse Barbecue, Raising Cane's, Black Bear Diner, Rock and Brews, Shake Shack, and several others. There will be an opportunity drawing held at the end of summer reading. Children and teens can enter into the drawing by completing different reading/library activities indicated on their tracking sheets. Completing a book review and turning it into the librarian at either location will also gain an entry into the opportunity drawing. We kicked off this year's SRP with a carnival at Main Library on Saturday, June 4th from 12 to 3. We had games and activities including cornhole, ring toss, face painting, tic-tac-toe, a station for participants to decorate and personalize their SRP book bags. Approximate attendance was 1,000, with our projected attendance being 250, so we kind of did really, really good. Total registrants, including both locations, is 326 children, 27 teens, and 12 adults. Our overall sign-up goals are 1,000 children, 200 teens, and 200 adults, and I believe we are well on our way. Special thanks to the Redondo Beach Fire and Police Departments for their presence and participation. Over 500 snow cones were served, and we also had Meredith, the police dog, and Ember, the fire department dog, in attendance, and they were a big hit with children and adults alike. We also had variety entertainer Mark Pascal, who had magic, balloon animals, and juggling as entertainment for our young patrons. Participants entered the library to register with children and teens at the Children's Reference Desk and adults at the Adult Reference Desk. Children and teens received their SRP book bags and a Carnival passport. This Carnival passport, they took it to every activity and got it stamped. Once their passport was fully stamped, they received a little goodie bag. And I would love to report that everybody was a winner and everybody went home with the goodie bag on Saturday. We have a calendar of programs for children and teens that include special story times featuring guest storytellers, crafts, family board game and movie nights, and a teen paint and sip with sparkling cider and hors d'oeuvres. There will also be a field day for all ages, Saturday, July 9th from 11 to 1 p.m. at Franklin Park. It will include a 3-legged and potato sack race, small water activities for our little kids, a STEM activity for everyone, and crafts. We will have take and make kits that children can pick up from either library location, one for June, one for July, and one for August. And to sum everything up, we will have a finale party featuring the Torrance Beach Drum Circle on Saturday, August 13th from 2 to 4 p.m. at our main library. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilaire. Do you all have any questions?
Questions?
Did you have enough goodie bags for all 1,000 people?
Oh, Margaret, can you put your microphone on? I forgot to.
Did you have enough goodie bags for
Well, the
everybody?
goodie bags were for our children and teens. So all of our children and teens that participated got goodie bags. The adults were really keen on the snow cones, though. I will say I saw a lot of the adults lining up before the children to get their tasty summer treat.
Thank you.
Of course.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I'm Nona Walls. First of all, thank you for putting the carnival together. And I'm sure it was a team effort, but I was able to walk through at the tail end and it just looked like everyone is having a blast. I did see that there seemed to be quite a few students from Redondo High volunteering, et cetera. Can you give us a little information on what that connection is or what that tie-in is?
So what I've learned, and after speaking actually with the librarian at Redondo Union High School, is that the students are encouraged. I feel like it used to be mandatory. I'm not sure if it's actually mandatory now, but they are encouraged to volunteer, and we're a great place for them to volunteer. So we've had teens coming in actually before summer reading even started to get their volunteer hours, and so we knew that they need the hours. We need all the extra hands we can get. So we had a kind of a mass mandatory training for them last Wednesday before the event. And we had about 40 teens sign up at that point to volunteer. So it's great that we have that relationship with them. And we've also got some of our middle schoolers up and coming, like our 6th and 7th graders that are also kind of jumping in and getting their hands dirty.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, Commissioner Koopman?
I just have a logistical question.
Oh, there you go. It's on.
Oh.
It just came on.
Oh, wonderful. How did you accommodate you said you were expecting 250 children, right? And you got 1,000?
Yes.
How did you accommodate all those? I mean, you anticipate
We had
the
a
goodie
steady
bags?
stream, so it wasn't 1,000 people at once. It was basically like looking at our sign-up numbers and our gate count from the library. We guesstimated about 1,000 people that
Okay.
actually came through, because we had a lot of like 1 and 2 children families, and they brought both their parents with them. So that's already 4 right there. So with our counts that we had from our signups and the gate count from the library, it just kind of, that's how it's matched up. But for the most part, we were all basically outside, and people would go inside little by little. At one point the children's area was very crowded at one point. We probably had close to 50 families lined up to sign in for summer reading, so.
Okay, great. Sounds great.
I just want to add that, we also have an adult component to the SRP, and we're going to be having some special programs this summer, like there's an author named Patrick Moser who will be presenting his book, Surf and Rescue, George Freeth and the Birth of California Beach Culture, in July. And a Redondo Beach resident named Dr. Bradley Bobbs is going to be presenting in August a program called Philosophical Mysteries of Quantum Physics, which I've actually seen him put on before, and it's very interesting, and he makes it very fun. And adults can also sign up to win prizes too.
Super cool. Thank you for coming.
Thank
Really
you so
appreciate it.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilaire.
Okay, next item is blue folder items. Are there any blue folder items?
No.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is consent calendar. Any discussion on the consent calendar? We had 2 sets of minutes to review. If there's no discussion, we have a motion to receive and file consent calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodman. Second.
Oh, Margaret, I'm sorry, Commissioner Willers, you have to put your microphone on. I'm sorry, otherwise it doesn't pick up for the broadcast, they told me. There you go, there you go.
I shall second.
Oh, it just went off, sorry.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Wells. All in favor of receiving and filing consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We're on to public participation on non-agenda items. I see no members of the public, so we'll go to item I1, discussion of the fiscal year 2022-23 budget.
Okay. Let me see here. I think I got my papers all out of order. But the budget will be discussed tomorrow night at City Council. You all did submit a letter. It's included in this packet, so you can review it again. We will have a budget response report on going fine-free that is going to be submitted for them to consider, and you all did mention that in your letter. We have a budget response report on Open Plus access as well, so I'm going to discuss that in a little more detail. There is a budget response report on adding additional hours at both locations to try to get us back to closer to what we were before COVID. And I think that's all for budget response reports, but the city manager did put forward a decision package to actually permanently restore the $50,000 to the library's collection. So, hopefully you all can watch the meeting tomorrow night or come in person if you can. And I don't know if you all have any questions about the letter or.
Okay, so it doesn't look like we do, so maybe are we ready to move to item I2, discussion of the library banners?
Okay, so library banners. So they are up, or at least I know for sure the one is up at King Harbor because I did walk over there and
Inglewood's up.
check. Oh, good. Oh, great. So those are going to be up for 2 weeks. And I did bring some information on just related to that. Let me see if I can find. Oh, so one thing I did want to mention in relation to the library banners is kind of all the places we advertise our programs, because I'm starting to realize that we need to kind of coordinate everything that we're doing because we advertise so many places. So I was pulling all this together anyway. But basically, we create flyers that we put out around the library. We make announcements on the front page of our library webpage. The city webpage wants to hear about major events like this SRP Carnival. So they also advertise it on the city's front webpage. We have the paper calendar that goes out that you can sign up online to receive in your email. We have a website calendar. We have the Facebook page. We have press releases that our programming librarian sends out to the local papers. We have the monthly newsletter email, which was Commissioner Koopman's suggestion, and that goes out to email to everybody who signs up. There's a city quarterly newsletter that's online now that people used to receive in the mail as a paper like brochure, but now it's online. So we put our events in there. We have the digital signs that are around the city, and we try to keep flyers on there, although those are typically like products and services that are ongoing as opposed to like events, because we have to keep it updated, all the time. And then we also, a lot of our flyers go on the local cable station as well. So, we do have quite a few avenues for advertising, but I do like just the big banner being out there for, people to see. I do think it, really makes a splash, so.
Yeah, Commissioner Koopman?
I noticed there was a third location we could possibly add a banner in the future. It's on Prospect, actually right by Paris, by the continuation school.
Okay.
So I saw them putting a banner up today. I think they were putting up, one of the, it was either some summer program it was RBUSD's summer program, I think it was. But I thought that might be a good location because that's the main place where there's a lot of traffic there for the high school and for the middle school.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea. I mean, I will say thanks to our friends of the library, they paid for the banners, and we kept them pretty vague, so we can just keep, reusing them every year for SRP, but, we could get another one made potentially.
I was gonna say the banners are perfect. I mean, they're bold, and I like that they are big, because I like that you can just reuse them every year. So they're great.
Yeah, because I think they're about $700 each, something like that. I want to say, yeah.
But the color really stands out so that you notice it when you're driving.
Well, good.
Yeah, the one in Inglewood I noticed right away, and it's big letters, so you see it says Library Summer Reading Program, you get the message and you go. That's good.
I do like the idea of the Prospect, because I live right over in that area, and I know between the drop-offs at Paris Middle School, et cetera, and then all the traffic around the high school, that would be certainly another, and commuting, that would certainly be another
Oh,
place.
yeah, that's a big, yeah. Okay,
Especially now that people are back to commuting a little bit more than in the last years.
yeah.
Do we have something coming up after the summer reading program where we might want to target for that additional banner? Or is it something that,
Well, I mean, I guess like the Friends could, for instance, consider it for like their book sale, for instance. I could suggest that to them. They'd have to pay for the banner, but that could be an idea.
financially, how much they make on the sale might
Yeah.
negate
Yeah.
the idea.
I
of it.
mean, of course, they could keep reusing it potentially, but they wouldn't be able to put a date on it. But right now, we've kind of got our summer reading program planned through August, and I don't think we've looked much beyond that. So, but it's something to consider for like any other big event. Yeah.
And the summer reading program's kind of unique, and sorry, Commissioner.
Okay, no, please.
It's unique because it's all summer, so like you said, there's no date, there's no come at this specific time, it's the summer, so I think the reuse of that event is high, but sorry, Commissioner Cooper.
I was just going to say for the Friends, I believe their book sale is always like the first weekend of something, or if they did that, if they say just the first weekend of June, it could be that week, and they can still use it every year. I mean, I'm not in the Friends board, it was merely a cost-saving suggestion.
Or it could say something like this Saturday or something, and then it just gets hung up that week or whatever, yeah.
What about the opportunity, because I think you said that the current signs are up for 2 weeks only.
Yeah.
Do we potentially have an opportunity to put them back up later in the summer to encourage people, even though it's mid-program, to encourage people to come in and sign up?
I think, doesn't it say, I think it says starts in June on it. I think it says starts in June. I think it has that on there, because I don't know, they gave they gave it to us for free because we're city department. They allow city to hang stuff for free, but otherwise you have to pay for that. So I don't know how, but there's probably other times that it's not, that it's available. Well, let me think about that.
Okay. Thanks.
Any more discussion on the banners? Okay, next item on the agenda is Open Plus Access.
Okay, so this will be discussed tomorrow night during the budget. I just wanted to give you all an update. It's hard for me to remember, like the last time we talked about this would have been April. So I don't know if I told you about how we visited Santa Monica Public Library. Did we talk about that? Okay.
I think you did.
So since then, Aaron and I met with the city's security camera company to look at North Branch and see what they could provide in terms of cameras there. And so they gave us a quote for the BRR. And for the first year, it's $20,000 to install and provide the cameras and everything. But after that, it's like $300 a year for ongoing maintenance. And the door could be a simple modification that could just be like $1,000, or potentially we'd have to replace the door, so that could go up to $40,000. So that's a big unknown. That's a big unknown for the door. The state library just sent out an email that you can apply for a grant to cover, like, I think it's about $5,000 of installation fees and the first 2 years of subscription fees, which is about $10,000 a year. And the date on that grant to complete the application is June 24th. And I think they're giving out 10 grants, so I don't know how competitive it is. And they're having a webinar, but it's not till like the 16th. And I'm also interested in, are they going to be looking at equity issues and stuff? A lot of times Redondo doesn't, go to the top of the list when they're looking at it that way. So I'll try to find out more on the webinar. So basically, because of the unknown about the door and the unknown of whether we'd get the grant, the first year cost could be anywhere from $76,000 to just about $20,000. So it's a big unknown there. And then going forward, it would be about $11,000 a year. That second year cost could be covered by a grant. So we'll see. I mean, I know probably one of the big reasons that you all were interested in this, I assume, is because the hours were cut. And if they decide to give back some staffed hours, how would this fit into that? It'll be interesting to see, but it will be an interesting discussion. Lots to consider.
Commissioner Koopman?
With the startup cost of $76,000, I still think that would still be cost savings in terms of staffing and over, I guess, the longevity of the program also. How long, please remind me again, how long has Santa Monica had it? I think it's only been like a year or two, maybe?
I think it's only been about a year, maybe 6 months.
Okay.
And, their branches were closed completely. Now, so kind of what I've gathered from the different systems is, because this is kind of what Ventura did as well. If they have it, if they have the Open Plus access available on a day that staff is not coming in at all, either they have like a sort of like a security person stationed there like they do in Santa Monica, or in Ventura, they had one come in for like the final hour. If they tend to have it just for like a couple of hours, like in the morning before the library opens, then they don't tend to have that. They don't tend to have it stationed. And I guess because, the staff is coming in, and then they can, they're there if, anything is going on or somebody didn't leave or whatever, the staff's coming in anyway. So with North Branch, for instance, it's closed on Fridays. So that seems like, it would be a nice service to have on Fridays, but then could it really just be completely unstaffed the whole day, even at closing? That's the question, Or on a Sunday also.
What exactly would need to happen to determine if you would have to pay like the $40,000 for the door? Like what are the next steps to determine how much it would actually cost?
Public Works would have to look into it in more detail in terms of the modifications to see what would be required. And I did get I had pretty good detail on that, but with the grant information they just sent out, that also has more detail on the IT requirements. And so I sent that to our IT director. I'm trying to make sure, like, is there anything in here that's just going to be prohibitive, before we go down this discussion path. So that was just on Friday when I sent that out. So hopefully I'll have a little more information before we discuss it at the council meeting.
This requires a separate card, right, from our regular library card?
No, it is the library card.
It will work with the library card.
Yes, but you have to have
Okay.
special permission.
Okay.
It has to be like, at these different systems, they do it a little differently, but basically you fill out an application, you might get an orientation, maybe you can't have any fines on your card, et cetera, and then it'll be activated and you can just scan something with your library card and it'll unlock the door for you.
Okay. So you
So-
do have
so
to
it-
fill out a piece of paper, which means that some people are going to be put off by the piece of paper, which some people that we want to be put off by the piece of paper might be put off by the piece of
Well, I mean, for instance, we do have patrons who don't have library cards, right, for a variety of
Correct.
reasons. So they
Correct.
would not be able to access the service, correct?
paper. Okay.
I would envision it being similar to like an ATM that you access after hours at a bank. So you can just use your ATM card to open the doors and then you go and access the bank, access the ATM.
Yeah, I think that sounds fantastic for the North Branch.
Well, you guys can come talk at city council if you want to give a,
I've
Make a
talked to my
plug.
councilman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know if the Torrance branch got theirs up and running yet?
No, they
Okay.
haven't, which is just, I checked again a couple weeks ago and asked, will you guys have it up and running? Because we'd like to come see it, and they don't, unfortunately. But they were just planning to do the early morning hours completely unstaffed. At least that's what the director had told me like about a year ago. So, yeah.
And the financial numbers that you gave, that's for a single location, right?
Yes.
Is there any benefit to looking at more than one, or?
Well, first of all, the grant is just for one location, but also because you have to have security, it's not 100% coverage by the security cameras, but you have to have pretty good coverage by the security cameras, which makes the main library difficult because it's so large. Plus, people can go up the stairs and go upstairs. There's no way really to block that off, and there's just a variety of issues there.
Do you have any thoughts on how to gauge the demand for after hours? I mean, do you have a point of view on that?
Well, I mean, one of the things, North used to be open 12 to 8, and and now it's 1 to 7, and we're proposing if we get those 2 hours back, we do 11 to 7, because we think it'll be more used from 11 to 12 than from 7 to 8, because 7 to 8 is our least busy hour. So I would have said when we were open 12 to 8 that there probably would be a lot of people coming in the morning. We could do like 9 to 11 potentially, and I don't know what the demand would be that early. You'd probably get some people coming in. There'd probably be people using it on Friday, I imagine, and Sundays probably.
Oh, can we do a questionnaire of the patrons of the North Branch?
We could. I mean, that could be maybe part of this discussion with council if they want to move forward with it. I mean, I think the other thing is, it's a very flexible system. So you could start with just a few hours and see how it goes and expand, for instance.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I was asking the question is, that because of that upfront cost, this 70, whatever it is or more, it'd be good to have a sense, right?
Yeah.
I agree. I'm always for experimentation. It's just the 70,000 cost before you get to the experimentation part.
Yeah. And I mean, if they give us back staffed hours, staffed is always preferable because you have people there to assist. And,
Sure.
and the other thing is I did not make the meeting room part of it because I couldn't figure out logistically how, if somebody has a meeting in there and let's say they have 30 people coming, but those people are not all going to be signed up for
yeah.
this. And then are they going to be able to go in the library? And then we don't have any paperwork from them. And so I couldn't quite figure out how that would work. And I was thinking if we did implement Open Plus Access, maybe down the line, if it was successful, somebody could, add that portion to it, but I just couldn't, it just was too much at this point.
Is there a significant cost to add it? Or is it just,
It would just be adding like a security camera in the meeting room, probably, or something like that.
any more questions on Open Plus Access? Okay, next item on the agenda is J2, discussion of Veterans Park Community Center.
Okay, so Commissioner Walls notified me about this, that she attended, I believe it was a Parks and Rec Commission meeting where she first heard that they were discussing what to do with the Veterans Park Library. There's some history in your packet about how it had basically been the main library for a long time, and then because it had retrofitting issues, that they decided to build this new main library, and they had a caterer take it over, or a concessionaire, I guess you would say. But now they're considering other uses for the building, and they've put out some community surveys. They went to the Parks and Rec Commission meeting. They must have gone to Public Art on June 1st to discuss it. And they are considering making it some kind of community center or pop-up event center or art gallery, and museum, restaurant potentially. And they were going to bring this to the June 7th meeting, but now it's been delayed until July 5th, which means there is time for you all as a commission, if you want to make a recommendation, to submit a letter to Community Services so they can put it in the packet for July 5th. There won't be time to bring it back to this meeting, but if you all decided something basic like this is what we want to recommend, that would just be like a paragraph or two. And, if you assign somebody to write it or two people to write it and voted on that, they could submit it. So I'm happy to I'm happy to share what I think, but why don't you guys talk first?
You want to lead us off, Commissioner Walls?
Sure, absolutely. So thanks for getting this on the agenda. It is a building that I walk by almost daily, and it always just stands out to me as a beautiful landmark of Redondo Beach, of course, with the public library at the top. Always gives me a little bit of chills, but that's just me because I'm a library person. Last year, during the pandemic, the catering of the concessionaire that had the lease expired during the pandemic. Understandably, they did not renew it. So we are in a position to be able to potentially influence what is going to be put in that building and how it's going to be used. I had attended the Recs and Park Commission meeting as well as the Public Art Commission meeting. And from the survey responses and the other commissions, it sounds like there's overwhelming support to have at least part of it be dedicated to art, which makes sense. There's overwhelming support for it to be a community building with potentially still some concessionaires. There's a lovely kitchen, commercial kitchen. There's some space where there could be patio tables and things. And so there is overwhelming support for whether it's a coffee shop or a deli or just something where you can get some snacks and sit and have a nice bite with friends and family. One of the options that people seem to like is the idea of a pop-up. In context of the survey, I learned the other night at the Public Art Commission that when they say pop-up in the reports that have been submitted, that's for the entire building. So pop-up, like in September, there will be the California 101 art exhibit again, and that will be taking over the entire building for that purpose. There's also the ideas around having some shared space. So maybe have the concessionaire or, a third party manage the kitchen component of it, potentially have some areas for performance art, whether that's spoken word or music or something like that. One of the things that I noticed is that there wasn't a whole lot of talk about library type things, and maybe that's okay. Maybe if our community has gone down the path of it's a beautiful building, we recognize its history, but let's make it something a little bit more modern, that completely makes sense. But I think from a library commission perspective, we should at least consider requesting that part of it potentially be turned into whether it's reading space or something to really encourage the literary arts.
There were 10 votes to make it a library again. I noticed that.
There were a few, yes.
Maybe they weren't aware of this building.
And there was something about having a book vending machine there or having books there available, something like that.
And as we just talked right now through the Open Access Plus, I thought that might be something to maybe from a longer term have a kiosk, or I haven't seen the mechanisms for how that works. So it sounds like it might be a little bit more complex than just putting a kiosk or a vending machine in the, in one of the rooms. But if you take a look at the Historic Library Community Center and walk through it, which I had the chance to do on a couple of occasions, there's 6 or 7 different rooms, some of them very large. You walk in, it's a beautiful lobby, very, very historic. And then there are some smaller rooms that maybe would be appropriate for someplace to either pick up books or have a lending library, all sorts of different ideas. But I wanted to at least have some conversations with you all, because I know you all, feel about the library as I do. This is one of the reasons we're here.
If I can just throw in a few things, like we have in the past, our bag has had an art show at the library. They were doing that every April before COVID, and then it's National Poetry Month in April, so we would have a poetry reading as part of it. So, some of the things I thought about were, especially if we continue to close at 7, if we had special events that went a little later than that, or were outside of library hours that could happen at a pop-up space or that type of space, or just as part of another event that was there could be a literary component. And another thing I thought about was when I managed the West Hollywood Library, they actually designed the library to be kind of like an art gallery, in the sense that they always had an art display on the walls going around the library. So I think this space, it could have, an ongoing art exhibit going on, that at some hours people could just go into the space to see the art, but there could be meetings or other events going on in the space with that exhibit still up on the walls or just around the perimeter of the building.
How are they perceiving the management of this building?
I don't think they're there yet. I think the survey, the conversations that I've been part of have been more, let's brainstorm with the community and get some survey responses around what people would like to see. There has not been much discussion, as far as I know, around management of it, nor about whether it's be generating revenue and what the costs are. So I think those are some still big unknowns.
Yeah, Commissioner Koopman?
My only concern is that the respondents were so low. That was it'd be nice to get a broader base in terms of the survey. But I'm all for the changes and anything that happens, but I just would like to have seen more. I don't know how they actually, I know you don't know. I don't know how they actually communicated other than just presenting a QR code to people. I wasn't sure how that was actually disseminated, so it would just be nice to see more response.
I agree with you that I think it was 300 and some change, 312 respondents over the entire city or the entire area.
Right. You can see what the overwhelming response was. There's definitely people want something to happen with that building. It's a beautiful building. I've been to an event in that building. It's a great facility, but it just would have been nice to have more input.
I agree.
Yeah. So.
I also in the packet didn't see anything about how much revenue. I'm assuming that when the RFP was, the concessionaire was giving money to the city? Is that?
Oh, they must have.
So it'd be, I don't know. I don't know that the Library Commission is, going to weigh in on that part of it, but it would have been useful, I guess, to know how much money was received by the concessionaire that was there previously, and what are we foregoing? And is there a benefit of having a private sector group that's going to, take care of it and handle it and collect their money to do it?
Yeah, I think it sounded like from the survey reports that a lot of people do want it as a community meeting space, and it sounded like they'd be willing to rent it as a community meeting space, so there's still some revenue, or really anybody who's going to rent it for an event or something, there's still some revenue possibility. But yeah, I don't know what the plan is for the management.
It could even be just a summer or spring to early fall facility. Just, take advantage of the nice weather. So it's something to coincide with maybe, summer at the pier or even with farmer's market. That's what I'm not on the Parks and Rec Commission, but so we don't have to have it open all year round is what I'm saying. You can just have it open 6 months of the year, right?
Or coincide with daylight savings or something like
Exactly,
that to make
yeah.
it simple.
It did seem from the pictures that there's at least one room that still has like a full wall of bookshelves. So it's already built in. There could maybe be some opportunities for maybe bookstore or something like that with like local authors.
Or maybe an extension of Friends of the Library.
I know, I thought about that, about Friends of the Library. I don't know if it's something that, maybe they'd be willing to have a little open store there during other special events or something, like, oh, we could bring some books over to that. And, there is a transport issue there, but, they might be interested in something like that.
What about these little libraries you see everywhere?
I was just thinking
The
that we could,
neighborhood
even a
little
little free
libraries.
library.
Yeah, and make it free books. Take one, leave one.
Yeah, I know. My mom's retirement community had one of those. She loved it, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's also a possibility too.
I'm old, I go along with your mother. But then you can have books there all the time. And I'm sure there's books that are not sold at the Friends book sales. And those books could go in there too.
Yeah.
So given where the state of this, if we were to make a directive, or a comment, I guess maybe Commissioner Wallace, you have some ideas on what you'd like us to say, or?
Yeah, my main position is I believe that it should be a shared space. I think some of it being used for pop-up can keep the content fresh, keep people coming back. Obviously, the California 101 art show has already secured the entire space for their event in September, but beyond that, art on the walls with, other things happening in the lobby area and in the second floor. There's I don't know if you've been inside the building, but in the second floor, there's a gorgeous upstairs kind of balcony type loft overlook area that looks down over the lobby that also has beautiful built-in bookshelves. And so there's a lot of capability there, whether those are preserved for books or whether they're preserved for artwork. If we have sculptures or things like that, that of course would be more the Public Art Commission. I also think that there could be something there with the Historical Commission, and I believe that they're talking about this as well. Maybe a little exhibit of, this week in Redondo history, or just something, some space for them to creatively continue to pull in new and fresh content. Really, from a library function perspective or a literary work perspective, I don't think the whole thing should be a library. I think we have a beautiful library, but I do think it would be nice to have some representation. Maybe one of the smaller rooms, maybe a place to pick up book holds on Saturdays or something, or the free library. But some way of being able to provide residents with literary content, ideally tied in with some of the events that are happening. If there's California 101, I believe is a lot of pictures of California. And so potentially, if we can find the resources to do it, have a little, recommended reading to go along with the artwork, or potentially, if there's somebody playing music or someone doing performance art, recommending reading to go along with that, even potentially at different generational levels, if we can get that sophisticated. But that's, there's a lot going on there. I think starting with, can we secure one of the smaller rooms for library functions, whether that's an open access type thing, a free library type thing, a reading room, or a reading space. I think that would be enough to still give it the library feel and keep some of the functions there, but also, of course, acknowledge that there's a lot of space that can be used for a lot of other things that are already in motion.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Koopman.
I think one of the nice things it's something that we did over at North Library. Across the street, we have the community annex. I think one of the nice things is that if we we'd like to move this city facility over there. But I think if you have a city office over there, some sort of, that way it's vibrant and there's walks of life going through it all year round, and then use half of that for a city function. So that way the building doesn't seem dead, right? There's always some activity going on. And then the other half using it for Parks and Rec or library or historical society. I just think that if there's always something there, it won't seem as just alone.
It's a bit daunting.
Right, you know, because because I think that's one of the nice things about the community annex, the community resource over there across the street from North Branch, is that there's always something going on over there. People go over there. So if there's a constant stream of traffic of some sort, it's a destination point, like a mall. There's anchors at a mall. You want to go because, so if there's something there that you go there, not just because it's a one-off event, but I feel like if you take a third of that or something, I don't know which facility, I don't know if it'd be Public Works, or I'm moving people I shouldn't be moving, it's not but I'm just offering a suggestion. I know, you're moving. But I just think if there was just a constant traffic there, and then people are there like, oh, here, I think that's what happens at North Branch too. Like, oh, I'm here at the community, oh, there's a library over here. So I think that something there, I don't know what it would be. I don't know if we can offer that to the city, and suggest that to the city.
Do you guys think at this point, maybe, you guys sort of have the documents, sort of seeing what people have suggested so far, what's popular. If, the commission just wanted to support one of these visions or a combination of visions, like, hey, the library commission supports, a pop-up center with gallery space, and we would be interested in seeing library events, as part of the events that happen there, or literary events as part of the events that happen there, and having some kind of literary presence, possibly a free book collection, or a occasional for sale book collection over there, or something like that, or some book presence over there, kind of keeping it a little vague right now, just because I think they're still in very early stages, but just showing a support for a couple of the ideas that other people have suggested.
And we would have to have this done by July 5th, right?
Yeah, I'd say probably
well before
before
that.
then, maybe by the end of this month, so they can get it in whatever packet they're putting together.
And Director Anderson, you're saying that there's, that vague commitment doesn't stress you out. You don't think that there'd be resource constraints for us to do?
Well,
those kinds of
there's a lot of possibilities. For instance, I would love it if there was a great book vending machine on the market. I don't think there is one right now, but it doesn't mean that there won't be one at some point. It doesn't mean that the Friends of the Library might occasionally want to have some kind of book sale over there, or would be willing if there was an author talk on sailing, to dig through their collection of sailing books and take them over and sell some related books. Or that people in the community might want to just have like a free lending library, so, there's a variety of possibilities. That's why I'd say maybe keep it vague, we would be interested in having, a literary presence there, or a book presence.
So,
Something
Wells, does that feel like a motion to you?
It feels like.
It's still pretty
yes, But I
vague.
think we're still kind of chatting through it.
Commissioner Wells might want to tighten that up. But,
And I think that there's been so many great ideas, and I like your suggestion that we say, from the Library Commission perspective, here are the things that we support. So it seems like kind of shared space seems okay to people. How do we feel about the cafe, restaurant type for part of it?
I think we've seen Starbucks and Barnes and Noble works.
Yeah, let's not make it stop. They can
It
certainly.
doesn't have to be Starbucks.
But yes.
But cafe.
Cafe and some tea and snow cones. We learned tonight that snow cones are really a big deal in Redondo Beach, We could have library snow cone day or something like that. But from a concessions perspective, we're fine with the commercial third party, we don't want to.
Well, I think based on what you were saying too, that would be something that would then be bringing people in on a regular basis, and it'll have activity, and so it won't feel like it's just this vacant space that sometimes happens at events.
I think it's useful for you all to throw some support behind some of the things that are suggested. Because, for instance, one of the things that got votes was to make it a restaurant. Well, that's not going to really do much for literary events or something if it's a restaurant, right? So if you can kind of throw some support behind, what you think would be
Yeah, that's good coaching. So there were 4 options, right? There's, I'm trying to look up the 4 options. Or more than that. Okay, so pop-up and then traditional community center, rental facility, cafe, art gallery, art museum. So Director Anderson, are you suggesting pop-up space and traditional community center are 2 that would be library friendly?
Yes.
Okay.
A
So maybe it
cafe
would be
would
as simple
too.
as us saying, the Library Commission supports pop-up space for, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't be making the motion, but.
No, you could, we're just talking right
Yeah,
now.
so it might be pop-up space for rotating uses, and traditional community center are uses that are amenable to
Literary events.
literary events, and the library would,
Be interested in participating.
yeah,
something
be
like
interested
that.
in participating. Yeah, that might be vague enough, but show that that's something that would be supportive of what the library is about.
And from the pop-up space perspective, are you thinking as part of the shared space, not for the entire thing? Or, but that's would be my position is,
Yeah, it feels like that would be compatible with we would do a pop-up event, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially an after hours opera talk, maybe instead of out on the balcony, we do it out there or something.
Right.
that'd be beautiful. Okay, so we're fine with the commercial kitchen. We like the pop-up space concept for shared spaces. As the Library Commission, we would like to be involved in participating in those, bringing a through a literary lens. Does that make sense, or, okay. And then what about, do we want any space inside the building?
It feels premature to make that
Yeah.
much of a push, because it depends on what they decide to do, right? If they, I don't know, ultimately, they're going to have to decide which of these 5 they're going to do, but 2 of them feels like it would be compatible with the library participating in it. Might be the only message we'd want to, I mean, otherwise, we're starting to get into their knitting.
Yeah, we don't.
But we do want to participate, and that's what we want to make clear.
Yeah, that if you Parks and Rec, or is that the body that's making the decision? If you Parks and Rec decide to do traditional community center and pop-up space, that would be interesting to the library.
It can be that simple.
Yeah, I think so. Director Anderson, does that get enough of the message across?
Yes, I would say something like a pop-up space or traditional community center would be amenable to, library programs and services and the library participating in the space, something like that. I mean, the Friends back in the day used to have fundraising events where they'd have fancy, events for fundraisers. I mean, there's potential there, with a variety of things, so.
Okay.
I feel like a
So-
motion.
So wait, you guys also have to decide who's going to write this letter.
That's in the motion. Yeah.
I can make it.
Yeah, can you make a motion?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like someone else to have some eyes on it
Sure.
before it goes,
I
so.
think Commissioner Willers is kind of hinting at somebody. I'm not sure, though.
So I make the motion that I will draft a letter indicating the Library Commission's interest and intent to support the pop-up space and the art exhibit with gallery or museum. And I don't quite know what they.
Well, we said pop-up space,
Pop-up space.
community center,
Pop-up space.
and personally, I think an art museum is permanent, right? So I kind of like the art gallery.
Gallery feels more library friendly.
And also feels more friendly to our art groups in town who probably want a place to show their artwork and have their shows, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and even potentially with maybe some more modern multimedia stuff at the high school or other, educational facilities have things to show in that area.
Right.
Okay. So the motion is,
For me, Commissioner Walls, to draft a letter indicating the Library Commission's support of the art gallery and pop-up space concept or pop-up space use as part of shared space as part of a traditional community center.
And traditional community center,
And
yeah, those are
traditional
3 separate ones,
Yes.
yep. Mhm.
Do we want a second person on this
Yeah.
committee?
Yes, please.
Would someone like to volunteer to join in the writing of the letter?
I'm happy to help.
Okay, so the motion now is amended to include Commissioner Hall, and obviously Director Anderson will have review as well. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll make the second.
Thank you, Commissioner Koopman. All in favor of going forward, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so passed. Sounds great. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is, sorry, I'm scrolling. All right, I'm going to do it on my iPad. It's faster.
Director's report.
Is the J3 Director's Report.
Okay, I'll make this quick. Just a couple things. The California State Library has given out these free parks passes, and they're basically, they cover the parking lot, essentially. They cover parking for the day.
Oh,
And
nice.
we now have 8, and you can put them on hold, and they check out for a week. So I think the most practical use is you put them on hold, you see that your hold is in, you have 10 days to go pick it up and plan your trip, and you're probably going to stay pretty local, but I mean, we want them to keep circulating. So, for the time being, they're just a week checkout. We could extend some of them in the future, but I think for right now, we're just keeping them a week because they do have a holds list on them. Also on April 18th, Youth Services Librarian Hilaire Hamilton Mitchell and myself held another Harwood conversation, this time with the teens. It was really interesting. It was very intense. I didn't expect it to be so intense. I thought they would say something like, we want a skateboard park, but it got it was a very serious conversation. But I think that one of the things that may come out of that is it sounds like they'd also be interested in volunteering opportunities. So back when we did this pre-COVID with some of the senior centers around here, there was a lot of interest in volunteering, and we thought about potentially holding a volunteer fair. So they were kind of in line with that as well. And then with the customer service survey that's out right now for 2 weeks online, we have some questions for working adults, some of the Harwood questions that we're saying, if you're a working adult, please answer, to try to get some feedback from them. And then since we're starting to meet in person again, maybe this next year there can be we can do an in-person event with that group as well. That's on our goals for the year, to do another Harwood conversation, and then to combine all the answers and come up with an action plan from them. And I think that's all I wanted to point out from these. We do have a new scanner at the North Branch. Woohoo, finally got that replaced. And that's it.
Director Anderson, I'm looking on the director's report, and there's mention of you attending a Zoom presentation on library neutrality as public service in liberal democratic governance.
Yes.
How was that? Can you give us a brief recap?
So that is the one that was on April 21st. So I participate in this librarians group in this organization called Heterodox Academy. And that was a very long and interesting presentation that was in defense of library neutrality, which is a little bit controversial at the moment, because there are a lot of librarians who think we should stop being neutral because there really is no such thing as neutrality, and neutrality in itself is a political stance. But some of us are sort of old school and we still are sort of defending the concept of neutrality. So it's an interesting tension at the moment. I can't, it was such a, the person who gave that presentation is very, very smart, and he's an academic librarian. So it was pretty, pretty intellectual presentation, but he did a very good job.
My apologies on that alarm.
It's all good.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Next item on the agenda is member items and referrals to staff.
I have given the new library briefs to Librarian Patterson. Just did it today, so there'll be a new one on the way. And I did mention the park passes, which we can all go to Dockweiler for free now.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they work on the RV side?
I think so.
Fantastic. We camp up there. Camp.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's funny. I go to Dockweiler a lot too. I didn't even think about that.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. I was going to Dockweiler. So you'll have it shortly.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Cooper.
It's somewhat of a personal question. Will you not be here at the next meeting?
I will be here. August will be my last meeting. And then most likely there won't be a September meeting because it's Labor Day. I think that usually we don't have one in September, but as things stand, it's supposed to go to monthly meetings starting in September. It'll be back
We're
to
back to
every
monthly?
month. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then have they posted your, I haven't looked, I should look. Have they posted your position?
No, they haven't posted it yet.
Are we invited to your going away party? I asked a hard-hitting,
I
important
think
questions.
so. I don't think it's been set. I don't think the date has
If
been
not,
set.
I mean, if you need me to represent the entire commission, I'd be happy to do that.
Although I have suggested the taco guy out on the balcony of the library.
And so when's your official last day?
The 12th.
Of
Although
August.
I realized that the drum circle for the finale of SRP is on the 13th, so I'm just going to have to come as a participant.
It's coming up quickly.
Okay.
We'll miss you.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Let's not say goodbye yet.
No, I'm just, no. We'll follow you to Arizona.
You going hunting, grouse hunting in Britain on the 12th?
No.
That's the biggest day in the calendar in Britain.
Oh.
Grouse hunting begins August 12th.
Ah.
They said dress hunting.
Grouse.
Gross.
Much different.
Any other referrals? I guess it's hard to know right now without knowing what's going to happen during budget.
Right.
I do have a question about the meetings, because we initially started, it was every other, and then we asked to go every month, and then we went back to every other. Are we going back to every other because of our initial request a couple years ago? Or is it
No,
something that?
it was, okay, so when I started, it was every other, which was a budgetary thing. I think that happened after with Bill Workman, but it had to sunset at a certain point. And so they went back to every month. And then because of the COVID budget, they decided, okay, we need to go back to every other month, and it was set to sunset in September.
Okay. Okay. So effective October then, the first Monday in
Yeah.
October. Are we going to try and reschedule, or is that just going to be, I think we tried doing this, and with so many commissions and so few meeting space.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could try to do that. I guess probably a lot of it depends too on, is my
Yeah,
position
who's your
filled?
successor?
They
Yeah.
may be pretty new. Yeah.
If we wanted to have one, could we do it virtually? We wouldn't need a
No,
meeting
I
space.
don't think we're allowed to do virtual meetings anymore now that I'm pretty sure we're not allowed to do that because I don't think we're allowed to do that anymore.
Okay.
Like legally, I don't think we're allowed to do that anymore.
Oh, no, I think you mentioned that before, but I was thinking because of the lack of space, this would be, we always fall on Labor Day. So I think we're the only commission that falls on Labor. I'm sure other commissions fall on Memorial Day or 4th of July or whatever. But yeah, we're the only one that falls on Labor Day.
Because it's always the first Monday, yeah.
Any items or referrals to staff? All right, with that, we're adjourned. Our in-person meeting until 7 PM on August 1st. Thank you.
Thank you.